World understanding, as a view on the world in lexical forms, takes shape on the basis of concepts. In turn, the concept, and consequently the understanding, can form exclusively as a plurality of the images of the corresponding to it word. If there is no unified agreement on concepts, and a certain term evokes different images in different people, then their dispute becomes pointless. Roughly speaking, one can illustrate many of the political shows with an imaginary debate about the qualities of look, which means bow, and onion, when one of the disputants has the image of an onion behind this word, and the second one a spring onion, and the third one a bow. It was this kind of dispute that could be observed, for example, on the television channel Culture, on the theme, Russian fascism is worse than German. But what the presenter, the Minister of Culture of the Russian Federation, M.E. Shidkoy, and his interlocutors meant to say by the word fascism remained unclear. Substitution of the meaning of terms, the formation of new ones, this is real governance. For example, the Russian word upravlение, governance, is not accidentally supplanted by the word management, because the words such as pravda, truth, pravednost, spravedlivost, pravistness, upravlение, governance, have the same root, prav, and they contradict the content of the word management. For those interested in global politics, we consider it necessary to determine the most important phenomena in the life of humanity. National self-awareness is an awareness and acceptance of the peculiarity, uniqueness, of the culture of one's own people and its differences from the culture of other peoples, which also have peculiarity and significance in the common to all peoples history of humanity. Nationalism is an awareness of the uniqueness of one's own culture, combined with a denial of the uniqueness and significance for humanity of other national cultures. Nazism is a deliberate destruction of other cultures and peoples that created them, a hostile attitude towards them. That is, nationalism and Nazism can exist in society under a monarchy, a slave-owning system, feudalism, capitalism, socialism. National socialism is socialism for certain, one or several, peoples by name, but the guarantees and norms of National Socialism do not apply to representatives of other peoples. International Socialism is not an alternative to National Socialism, as the international Marxists claim, but preferential socialism for mafia-organized international diasporas in a multinational and an outwardly, formally, equal-rightedly socialistically organized state. Fascism is a word derived from the Latin fascio. This is a bundle of twigs with a hatchet stuck in the middle, tied with a belt. The question of the threat of fascism is wrongfully reduced to the ideas of national and racial uniqueness and intolerance, as well as to the fascist symbols and phraseology inherited from Italy and Germany. The true essence of fascism consists in the active support by the crowd of little people, according to their own ideological conviction, of the system of abuse of power by the elite oligarchy towards these same little people. Herewith, the oligarchy and the little people themselves present the imposed unpraviousness as supposedly true praviousness, and on this basis distort the world understanding of people, cultivate unpraviousness in the continuity of generations. Such a regime, with all its power, suppresses each and every one who doubts its praviousness, and even those who are only suspected of doubting. If we evaluate the current politicians from these standpoints, then it should be admitted that the politicians of the Union of Right Forces, such as, first of all, Nemtsov and Hakamada, adhere to the real fascization of the country. After all, it is they who call to the little people to support the unpraviousness of the current, terrible in its cynicism, oligarchic system of governance. As for the invented decorations of Russian fascism, this is done to support those who do not want to engage in socially useful labor, and who earn extra, posing with stripes ridiculous for Russia, or declare themselves fiery professional anti-fascists. The fascists and the anti-fascists peddled in the mass media are two sides of the same political screen. They are kept at the same feeding trough and are simply not capable of living apart like Siamese twins. Trotskyism is a special type of psyche structure, an ancient phenomenon previously called possession, which has received its modern terminological clarification after the name of its most prominent representative, Bronstein Trotsky. A characteristic feature of Trotskyism in the communist movement in the 20th century was a complete deafness towards the content of criticism expressed in relation to Trotskyism. In a combination with the adherence to the principle of suppressing in life the declarations proclaimed by the Trotskyists by a system of defaults on the basis of which they actually act, having united in the collective unconscious. Just recall the notorious Trotskyist Gorbachev and his empty verbal chatter about socialism with a human face, the fight against drunkenness, the friendship of peoples, and look at the results of the processes activated by him. By announcement it was one thing, by defaults and results, exactly the opposite thing. Trotskyism is a special feature of the psyche of those who manage to become Trotskyists, but not a feature of a particular ideology. The psyche type of a Trotskyist can be accompanied by a variety of ideologies. For example, the architect of perestroika, a former member of the Politburo, A.N. Yakovlev, being a psycho-Trotskyist, managed to express himself in a variety of teachings, from orthodox Marxism-Leninism, through the ideology of so-called universal human values and socialism with a human face, to attempts to express himself through Buddhism, while simultaneously declaring in his book, written in 1998, named Comprehension, that he is an Orthodox Christian. It is for this reason, purely psychic in nature, that relations with Trotskyism and Trotskyists personally at the level of intellectual discussion, arguments and counter-arguments, are fruitless and dangerous for those who regard Trotskyism as one of the ideologies. Marxism is a name given to a worldview system which is an erroneous imitator of the path to communism. Marxism was worked out and introduced by the pseudo-Zhrezes of the West in order to discredit the ideas of communism. So the erroneous correlation of the concepts of Marxism and communism arose only at the stage of worldview delusions at the end of the 19th century, in the middle of the 20th century. Communism, as an ideal towards which humanity should strive in its development, has been propagandized since ancient times. Translated from Latin, it means community, commonality. Moreover, in Latin, this word has the same root with the word communication, i.e., with connection, including information communication, connection between people. Communism is a commonality of people on the basis of Sovest. Everything else in communism is a consequence of the unity of different people. Adherence to communism implies an agreement that not everything that is connected with the life of a person and society can be the undivided, personal, private property of someone. A lot can be in collective property, and being the property of everyone, it cannot be the exclusive, unique property of any of them personally. Although the general meaning of all this is clear, however, in the practice of life, disagreements between communists arise when compiling a list of what can be in the personal property and what can be exclusively social property. Bolshevism, as the history of the CPSU teaches, arose in 1903 at the Third Congress of the Russian Social Democratic Workers' Party. According to what its opponents maintained, the Bolsheviks, which means majority, until 1917, never represented the factual majority of the party members. But as the Bolsheviks themselves stated, it was they who expressed in politics the strategic interests of the working majority of the population, as a result of which only they had the right to be called Bolsheviks. So this definition in our terminology is not connected with formal moments, but with the purpose orientation of this movement. The Bolshevik is the one who cares about the laboring majority. Exactly to such people, Bolsheviks with a capital letter, Stalin belonged. Complaints towards Stalin are formed not by the majority of the laboring people, but by the minority parasitizing on the creative labor of the majority. This is connected with the fact that along with the laboring majority, which considers life in creative labor normal, there is also a minority that considers it normal for themselves to reap where others have plowed, and sees this as their mission in life. Bolshevism and its adherent, Stalin, did not call for equalization, but insisted on excluding the usurious plundering of the productive sector with the help of the financial credit and monetary system. In order to draw the correct conclusions about the essence of Stalin's activities, it is necessary to completely exclude an orientation towards what third parties wrote about him. This information, for the one who has distinction, is valuable only in that aspect that it reveals the backstage kitchen of the customers. In order to understand Stalin, to comprehend the results achieved under his leadership, it is necessary to study what he himself declared. As the entire known to us history of mankind shows, it was only under Stalin that prices for goods consumed by the majority stably decreased. The phrase Stalin house or Stalinka does not require any comments on the quality of housing. Actually, neither does the term Khrushchevka, in memory of the most prominent Trotskyist of our time, Nikita Khrushchev. It is absolutely unacceptable to ascribe the cruelty and lawlessness committed under this or that leader to Stalin's account. We observe in our days atrocities and horrors on the Chechen land. They are not connected with the name of President Vladimir Putin, however, but with the activities of the global international financial mafia. During Stalin's time, Russia was also a place of clashes and showdowns of global mafia clans. Stalin could resist this only within certain limits. The deep essence of Stalinism can be understood from a poem written by Joseph Jugashvili at the age of 17-18. In it, he anticipated not only the drama of his life, but also his own demise. From house to house he wandered, knocking at silent doors, his ancient oaken panduri voicing a motive pure. Within the melody's roulades shining as pure sunstream dwelled the unvarnished wisdom, truth, and a holy dream. Roused by the lonely chanting were hearts from a stone-cold sleep. Lingering in the shadows, flame flew above the trees. People who cherished darkness turned from the godly trail, poured no mere wine, but poison, into his holy grail. Strange are thy words enchanting, truth of yours foreign in sound. Drink till your cup is empty. Curse you, exclaimed the crowds. Stalin and his Bolshevism are not forgotten by the majority, nor are Stalin and his Bolshevism forgotten by the now outraged minority, as under Stalin it was impossible for anyone to buy a limousine or build a mansion with stolen money, or try to sow enmity and incite war between the peoples of the USSR. No one under Stalin in the USSR could try to pursue politics in the interests of foreign governments and international mafia, or to undermine the country's economy with insane interest rates and increased tariffs for natural monopolies. But this won't last forever. So Stalin did not walk away into the past, he dissolved into our future, no matter how this may sadden the minority that has lost its sense of measure.